Good Monday afternoon. I'm glad to be back with you all. This is Paducah Parks and Recreation Beginner's Belly Dance class. This is Beginner's Belly Dance class. And I am Beverly, the teacher for this afternoon for this beginner's class. I want to say thank you for those who have been joining in, who have been practicing with me and hoping to see this class online. Due to scheduling, we're now on Mondays at 3 o'clock instead of Thursday afternoons. Monday afternoons at 3 o'clock. This is Paducah Parks and Recreation, and my name is Beverly. If you have any questions, please post. They will get the questions to me, and I will do my best to answer. From now on, we're on Mondays. We're going to get started. What I want to do this afternoon is go back to the basics that we began with several months ago. There is nothing like review. And I have been going a little fast trying to get things out there to the public about this type of dance and what it means. It is a dance, it's the oldest dance known to mankind, but it has been westernized. What I have been taught are westernized type things. I've been taught by several people from around the world. However, I'm going to try to get just basic things out there to get us moving, exercising during this time of COVID-19. So we need to be moving and trying to stay happy, because if you move, your body produces hormones and all this kind of stuff that lifts us up. So I'm going to start out this afternoon, as I get rid of that spider, with the basic Egyptian step. I'm going to start over. Those of you who have been with me will know, and those of us who dance regularly in the area will know what I'm doing. Those of you who don't, follow along. And as I said, if you have questions, please post. And here we go. We're going to start with the basic Egyptian step, which is a step, hip step. I'm going to add arms to this because we have not used the arms a lot lately. However, let's start out with the hip so we'll know to lift the hip as we step. I'm going to demonstrate the step first, and then I will break it down into sections. Step, hip, step, hip, step, hip. Now my feet are going step, hip, raise, lift the hip, step, hip. When you step, lift the hip. This foot, the opposite foot goes up with the hip in order to lift the hip. Let's start out with the hip lifts. I will use some music in a minute. We're warming up. This is not a usual warm up, but as you move gently, don't stress your body. Allow yourself some movement gently, because we have not stretched, and we will, through the process, do some stretching in order to keep us from becoming stiff or locked up. Never lock your knees. Knees are slightly bent in all steps that are performed with this type of dance. Slightly bent. Slightly bent. Not this far down, not locked. Never locked. You can't move if you're locked. Your body cannot move if you tense up. Just relax and let it flow. Here we go once again. I'm going to demonstrate the feet. Step, right foot steps out, left foot comes up with the hip. Once again, step, hip. Once again, step, hip, step, hip. When I speak of the hip is coming up, 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 up. Once again, the arms are going in opposite directions. So if you step, hip, the side that the hip goes up, the arm is out. Step, hip, step, hip. It's also a reverse to this. And I'll have the music on in just a second to go backwards. As you step, just reverse it. You step back with the right foot, lift the hip. Left foot, lift the right hip. Right foot goes back, left hip goes up. If the arm movements are too hard, just accentuate like I'm doing like this. I will demonstrate both ways. Let's put some music on and try that. Stretch up. Let's get our stretch in. Stretch to the side. Reverse your side. Stay relaxed. Stretch up again. Lift high. Up on your toes. You might have to walk a little bit on your toes. That's okay for balance. That is stretching the ankles. Stretch out the leg. Bend over. Touch the foot. Slide your hand up. Reverse. Come up. Once again, stretch up. Just a total body stretch. Arms out. Now we're going to practice the step hip. The music is a little slow in order to get the step executed. Ready, and step, hip, step, hip, step, hip, step, hip. Now let's reverse. Step, hip, step, hip, step, hip. Now we're going to frame the body doing that. If the arm movement is too hard, nothing is wrong or nothing is ever right unless you're not performing the step correctly. So I'm going to frame my hip as I do this in order that you will see what I'm exactly doing. Ready, and come out on the right foot. Ready, go. Right foot, hip, left hip. Left foot, right hip. Right foot, left hip. Now I'm going to reverse, turn around so you can see it going backwards. Step back, hip. Left foot goes back, right foot, hip. Back, hip, back, hip, back, hip. Now, in order to do this, we're going to do some hip lifts and take it around in a circle. We're just doing the basic hip lift. This is an Egyptian hip lift. Ready, and lift, 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 lift. The knees are slightly bent. Not too far down. You're not ready for that, and it does hurt. So we're just going to be slightly bent. If you have knee problems, just kind of slightly bend. Not too much pressure. Always keep the body light. Hip, hip, hip. The hip is going up. Yes, the knee is helping it, but don't lock the knee. Taking that hip up. Slightly bent. Hip, hip, hip. Reverse to the left side or the opposite side. Slightly bend your knees. Hip, 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 hip. Let's go back and put it together. Step, hip, step, hip, step, hip, step, hip. Now, as I come forward with the step hip, we're going to do a 1, 2, 3 hip. It's a turn. Let me demonstrate before you do it. 1, 2, 3 hip. 1, 2, 3, hip. 1, 2, 3, hip. If you're needing to count, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. The hip is 4. Going to start over again with the turn. 1, 2, 3, hip. 1, 2, 3, hip. 1, 2, 3, hip. Now let's combine it and put it together as if we're working on a routine. I'm going to start out with a step. Hip, reverse it, and do my turns. Ready, and step, hip, step, hip, step, hip. Now reverse. See if you can put the arms with it. Start out with the right foot. Step, hip, step, hip, step, hip, step, hip. And keep smiling. It makes it fun. So let me start again and put the turns involved with it. And I'm going to use my arms. Step, hip, step, hip, step, hip, step, hip. Back, reverse. Step, hip, step, hip, step, hip. Now turn. 1, 2, 3, hip. 1, 2, 3, hip. 1, 2, 3, hip. 1, 2, 3, hip. Now, as we work on the hip movements, what we're going to do is take the hip around. Just do the hip lift. Okay, we're going to take it in a circle. We're going to work on that hip lift. Get in position, slightly bent. And as we go, we're going to turn around with it. Hip, 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 hip. Reverse. Hip, 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 hip. Every step can be modified. Even the step, lift, step, hip is also a traveling step. And I'll demonstrate that because you can go around from side to side. It's always a relaxing step if you lose your place. So here we go with the traveling step of step, hip. One is 4 counts, always 4 count unless you're doing it 8 times. For the sake of time, I'm limiting the count on this step, or all the steps. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now turn. 1, 2, 3, hip. 1, 2, 3, hip. Now just hip lift around. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, we're going to take that step and go from there into the hip circle, which is part of what we're doing. So I want you to start out swinging the hip, sway, just sway from side to side, side to side. Don't lock the knees, don't overly bend the knees. Just take the hip, go side to side, side to side, slide, slide. Belly dancing is isolation and control. Slide, 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 slide. Not this, not this, not yet. Okay? Just go. Slide, side, side. The hip is swaying lightly, lightly. Just to warm it up a little bit in order to do a hip circle. That does feel very good in working those muscles in the hip. We always complain about being stiff in our hips. Slide, 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 slide. Okay, now let's take a little step apart, not this way because you're not going anywhere. Just a slight step apart, maybe with the foot to push that hip out and around. So we're going to first do a large hip circle. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to start with the side to push it back, push to the side, and to the front. Let me demonstrate. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is usually the neutral position. So if I say neutral, that means I'm in the front. Ready, and 1, 2, 3, neutral. 1, 2, 3, neutral. 1, 2, 3, neutral. We'll turn to the side. We're doing the right hip. At this time, we're starting with the right hip. There are different ways to make a big hip circle. You can start in the front, you can start in the back. But today, we're just going to take it from the side, back, side, front, which is neutral. Ready, and right, back, left, neutral. Right, back, left, neutral. Right, back, left, neutral. Right, back, left, neutral. Now, in double time on this, it goes a little bit faster. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Make it smooth. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's reverse it. With the opposite hip sliding to the wall, then rotate it around to the back, rotate it to the other side, and come front. Now let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a circle. Just the hip. Let me show you. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Since I'm this way, I'm going to take it from the left side, my left side, which is also going towards the wall. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Isolating and control. Just take it, make it slow. This wall, either wall, start wherever you're comfortable. 1, 2, I'm going to keep it going. Reverse. Go back to your hip slide. Now let's go to the small hip circle. Start with whichever side you want to with the wall. Okay, I'm running out of time, so we're just going to do it quickly with not so much of an emphasis. Small. Make it small but smooth. Very small but smooth. Reverse. All right. Now I'm going to change the music and we're going to go a little faster. What we're going to do is just perform the steps that we have done with a different style of music. Hope you've enjoyed this day. My director has told me I only have a couple minutes. It seems so short, the time I've spent with you. But anyway, we're going to go on performing the steps that we've done. I may add some just out of habit, but I want you to understand how it goes. Thank you for spending time with me this afternoon. Again, my name is Beverly. This is Paducah Parks and Recreation in Paducah, Kentucky. Thank you. Everybody, have a blessed day. Continue to be safe until I see you again next Monday at 3 o'clock. Thank you. Here we go with the step, hit, lift.